Hi, welcome to the small shed. This Saturday I'm repainting an angle poise lamp. See you in a minute. Right, well this is a first for the shed. We're sitting down for a start. That's the first time ever in 5 years. And I'm out in my pyjamas, which is also pretty much a start, a first. I mean, I've been up and about from my little trip to hospital and lying around the house for a couple of days, and I've got a bit bored as usual, as I thought I would. I'm still trying to be a good boy and doing what I'm told, but I thought it wouldn't hurt to come out here and do something that would just keep me going a bit and lift the spirits a bit. I've got an angle poise lamp that came into Many Shed's shed the other week. It looks like it's been painted by a 2-year-old with a dirty tar brush. And I had started to rub it down to see if I could get anywhere with it. It wants refinishing in white. But the more I look at it, the more I think, although it's been painted while it was like this, I think it would be better to actually take it to pieces and at least get the main top off it, and probably the base if I can, and just get them really sanded flat and cleaned up before we put some primer and repaint them. Whether or not I strip the wire out, I'm not sure. I'm going to have a look and see how that goes. This isn't the first time it's been apart, I'm sure. It looks as if it's had one or two bits of changes to it, because I think there's normally an on-off switch at the back. That's been changed to a switching line. So I'm going to start and take it apart and then see where we go from there. First thing I think is to get something to catch all the pieces. I can use the big one, I think. The big tray. So I don't normally sit around in my pyjamas in the day, but unfortunately I've just put a caliper across my knees. This one's 110 across, this one's 150, so I'm still slightly oversized with one leg, but we're getting there. We're on the way back, I think. The thing is just to drop the springs off. It's fairly straightforward. Oh, there's a nut on the bottom, I think. Oh no, it's one of these push-on washers that is a one-way thing. So I'll have a go and see if I can prise that off. It's only taken a couple of minutes to realise that's not going to happen. I really don't want to get too deeply involved and end up needing to start sourcing parts. I can't get it off without, I think, wrecking the spring washer. So if I can just get the actual angle poise part, I've disconnected the other middle spring, so there's nothing now connecting the whole of the arm section to the base, apart from these two nuts. I think I'm going to try and just not get too ambitious and get this lot undone. Quite nicely put together. There's like a nylock nut on them, so it's not going to come undone once it's done back up again. But the thing is just caked in paint, unfortunately. So you can see I am up and about on my feet, but I'm just trying to rest it as much as I can, as and when I can, which is why we've got a chair in here. Fortunately, because I've tidied the place up the other week, there is room for it. So that takes that middle part out. And there we are. So that's got us the base off. So it's not ideal, but I think it's the best I'm going to get. Again, start have a go with some Abranet, I think. Bit of 180, see if we can't. Yeah. Get it down. And then when I've done that, I'm going to give it a spray with like a grey car primer filler. And hopefully that will show up any bits that need any more work. I think that's going to be okay. We're down to the metal in one or two places, but the most important thing I think on this will be the base and the actual lantern cover, because they're the bits you'll see. Right, now there was that much paint on it, and it was so thick around the base I was afraid that whatever I did it wasn't going to work when you came to swivel. So I reverted to a scraper, carbide scraper, and that's doing the job nicely. That's just taking all the high spots off, taking a lot of the paint off altogether, flaking off the bits that were a bit loose, and just smoothing out the bits that have just got brush marks in. So I think we'll stick with that for the moment, but that's nearly there now. I think that one's nearly done, and we'll just move on and have a go at the rest of it and see. And I am finding it quite therapeutic. Come out here and you realise that you're back in your old world. Just moving on to the actual top part now. 2 screws to get that disconnected, I think, and then we'll decide on whether we take the wiring off or not. That's got the bulb holder loose, so I could in theory loosen that off. I'll let the bulb holder come forward. With any luck I can disconnect the bulb holder, and 2 screws we can disconnect it. That end. There we go. Bulb holder out. Once again put it together as much as I can so I don't lose the bits, or I know where they went. 2 screws in the bottom of that, and then that should just unscrew like a plastic holder. That's got me back to the bare metal, or the metal top part, which is good. I'm not sure I can get away with the scraper quite so well because it's circular. We'll have a go and see. I think this will just be a mixture of sandpaper. There's a very slight bend on that edge rim where it's got pinged, but it's alloy, so it bends out quite nicely. Right, so I'm just going to give these things a bit of a coat of primer, give me a rough idea as to how good or bad we've got the finish on it. I still haven't done the arm with all the cable running through it, but I'm just going to get some of it done just to see how we're getting on. And I'm almost out of primer. What I've actually done is just stuffed some paper in the inside this to mask it off. This will just give me a guide coat. And that's that one gone. Fortunately we've got one more. Right, that's got a couple of coats on. That doesn't look too bad. Light rub down with a bit of wet and dry, I think that'll be fine. The base looks a bit scabby in a couple of places. Not sure whether that's a reaction with paint or whether I haven't cleaned it off properly. But I'll let it dry off. I'll just turn the other two over when I've finished and do those. And start and mask up the other part. But I think we're getting somewhere. That doesn't look at all bad now. Right, so that's got all the parts painted. I've stripped all the masking tape off. I'm just going to wipe around with a bit of isopropyl alcohol to get rid of any of the bits of paint that are on the flecks and things like that. It's quite difficult to keep it off. But now it's just a case of putting it all back together, I think. So I'm quite happy with that as a finish. Okay, so that's got the lamp put back together. You wouldn't believe how many different variations there are of how you can assemble these things, and none of them work. We've finally got the right one where it's running okay. It really needs a bulb in it to balance it properly, I think. So I've got a couple of bulbs. The test now is to see whether it works. And it does. So we've now got the lamp painted, repaired and working. So I'm happy with that. Right, so there we are, 3 weeks in from when I started doing this lamp. It's taken 3 weeks to do something which should have taken 2 or 3 days at the most. Number of reasons for that. Firstly, certainly for the first fortnight, I really wasn't fully up to getting myself motivated to come out here. There was a definite lack of mojo. I came out here more or less just to see what it felt like, if you like, but I couldn't get motivated to do a lot. And I have been relatively tired for the last few weeks. I'm still on full dose of antibiotics 5 weeks after I'd started this whole affair, so that's taken its toll a bit, I think. And the other thing is, of course, I've had 4 or 5 weeks out of contact with anybody much. and not done anything much, so there's an awful lot of catching up to do with family and friends, and projects at home that needed doing, things like that. I'm taking exercise every day just to try and get the leg improved, so that's taking up probably, you know, an hour or so a day as well that used to be spent in here. But I think on the whole, I've come out from the 3 weeks I've been at home doing this lamp better than I went in, if you like. And it might only be a relatively simple project that shouldn't have taken long, but it's a bit of a milestone in that it's got me back out in the shed doing stuff. I've got 2 or 3 things on the go that I'm playing with. The 3D printer, I'm sorry you can hear it in the background, that's been going for more or less non-stop for the last 3 weeks, with one breakdown which I've sorted. You might or might not see the results of some of that later on, because I've been doing a little bit of work on model railways while I've been here at home as well, and that was better because it was in the house, in the warm, and again I could sit down while I did it. So as I say, we may see some of that later on, but first steps, we've got this lamp done, and we'll be moving on to new projects now. So I hope the video was of interest. Look forward to seeing you next time. We'll be doing something different in the shed. I'll see you then. Bye.